Daily Tanya.
Tanya.
For Thursday.
Trip there, Rabbi.
It was great. Okay, Daily Tanya Thursday, the 18th of Shvat, February 5th. Here we go. So we're just continuing. We're wrapping up the shortcut way to always serve God, and that is to break glass in case of emergency and get your hidden love to the fore to make you not just die for God, but even forego a little bit of temptation for God. Okay. And likewise, in the category of doing good, to strengthen himself like a lion with might and determination of heart. I think ometz lev in modern Hebrew is more like courage. Whatever. They say determination of heart. What do you say about you? What is the translation in the Steins? I don't know. I prefer my Steinsaltz book.
What chapter are we in?
We're in chapter 25 for the 18th of Shvat.
By the way, we finished yesterday. I thought.
We finished what?
Tanya.
No.
Oh no, I'm thinking the Mike Remember? We're in the second part of chapter 24. The 3 and the 1.
Yeah, a couple of days ago.
Mm.
All right, so
likewise, this can be accomplished by doing good, by steeling oneself like a lion with might and a courageous
heart. There we go.
against the evil inclination.
Okay. We have an argument of translation. Determination or courage? Slight nuance. Neged hayetzar machbes gufa yemapel avatzla. So we're saying you can break glass and grab your emergency hidden love, and to forego, we said yesterday, temptation. Now we're saying you can do it to forego laziness to not do good, or yesterday was to not do bad, and now you can use it to do and not to be remiss, right? The Yetzer Hara, it weighs down his body and casts over him a sloth, a laziness, a feeling of laziness, which stems from the element of earth that is in his animal soul. This laziness prevents him from exerting his body energetically with every type of effort and strain. The service of God.
Which was?
No,
you're smiling.
Prevents you. Right? Keep going. For example, we're holding on page 85 in the Chayenu. For example, to labor in the Torah with deep concentration. But deep concentration also orally. That his mouth should never cease from Torah study. Commandment Razal, like our sages said, a man shall always submit to the words of Torah like the ox to the yoke and the donkey to the load. And he's showing you like the terms you see, like the slang of Torah, like it should be it's a load. It's work. It's work. It's a load to carry. So you got to do it though. If you break out the hidden love, then you're never going to say, "Oh, it's too hard." What do you mean? I want to die for God. For sure, I'll do this hard. I'll learn extra Torah, or I'll do this extra mitzvah that takes effort. Similarly, with regard to devout prayer, you'll pray with all your might that you can muster. And so too about other positives. She bedavar shemamim, serving God with money matters. The duty of charity, right? To give a lot of money. He just gave an example, you notice, of in the positive realm of the three pillars of Torah. It says in Pirkei Avos, there were three pillars. The Torah was the world stands. The pillar of Torah, avoda, prayer, and gemilas chasadim, acts of righteous, of kindness. He just give an example. Chasadim. So you just gave an example, right? That in the what's the do good realm? It can be many things. But let's break it down to three pillars. And similar matters where one must struggle with the evil inclination and its wiles, adam, to cool the ardor of a man's soul, to cool the soul, the ardor of man's soul, to not dissipate his money too much charity or his health and physical exertion. It's very easy for us to resist and subjugate his nature. To overcome the nature of the animal soul is karev ma'id el adam. As we said, it's karov ma'od. It's very near. Or it's very. They translate very easy in the Steinsaltz.
This one troubles me that you don't, like it's saying, don't worry about your physical health.
Okay, so I was going to get to that.
Okay.
I didn't want to. Let's do it at the end.
All right.
But I don't want to talk about that. It's easy to withstand the temptations of the animal soul when you take to heart that to overcome the Yetzer Hara and all these matters and more than them, last is even to go with the exact opposite of Yetzer Hara. Kal ma'od miyasur misesha. It's easier than death. Heaven forfend. And remember, it all goes back to unpacking your emergency maneuver, which is that a person in a case of martyrdom would accept it with love and willingness. So as not to be separated from God's unity. So not to be separate from God's unity and oneness, even for a moment. To bow down to avodah zarah, God forbid. So you do that, it's not that hard to not do the temptation. And how much more so you should accepting lovingly the discomfort of exerting oneself in positive mitzvahs to attach to God, an eternal bond. For by fulfilling God's will, through this service, fulfilling God's will through this service, the innermost divine will be revealed in it internally, as opposed to surrounding or hovering it from above, and very manifest without any obscurity whatsoever. I'm sorry. When he does God's will, despite the exertion involved, it'll be revealed, God, the inner will, in a very internal way and very manifestly. In other words, when you do a mitzvah, you're going to the unity that your soul desires. You're manifesting the unity to God.
Wow.
And that's the deep desire of the person, the deepest desire. When there's no concealment of the divine countenance of God's will, Then nothing is at all separate from godliness. Nothing is separate from godliness, having an independent and separate identity of his own. When there's no concealment, then nothing separates from God to have self-autonomy, to be said. Right, I mean, in other words, you're peeling away the klipa in that moment. Because everything's klipa. It hides a God's oneness and gives autonomous sense. But when you do the mitzvah, for that time, there's a peeling away of separateness or even autonomy, which is good for the moment. Thus his soul, both the divine, the animal, animating souls, and their garments of thought, speech, and action, then your divine soul gets its wish to be united in utmost unity with will, the Ratzon Elyon, in the divine will, and the infinity of God, blessed be, Kniskalo. And this upper unification, who nitzchi leilam va'ed, this is eternal. Meaning, it's not only that you do the mitzvah for 1 minute and then you're okay, and then you go back to the angst of separation. In a certain sense, the mitzvah achieved an eternal union. We'll talk in a second about that. Because once there's a revelation of God, it might feel temporary in the experience here, but by God, it was an eternal kind of accomplishment, I guess. And so too in this world, not just in the heavenly sphere, but even down here, the revelation of God's will that was in your speech, that was expressed in God's word, meaning the Torah, is also eternal. As it's written, the word of our God shall stand forever. This in Isaiah. His words live and endure eternally. He will never alter, exchange his law. Let's see if there's any good stuff that we're talking with health, right?
Michelle's question?
Yeah.
Michelle's question is going to answer your question.
So this is analogous. The fact that you do a mitzvah, it lasts forever, both in God, in that accomplishment of God's will at the lower realm should on its own unify. That God gives independence and free choice. And yet, when you choose the mitzvah, all that became unified with God's oneness, which was an amazing accomplishment. And that's forever by God.
Wow.
Because God's not, it's not, time bound. But even down here, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure. Anyway, let me see what it says here. Here's a cool thing. This is an analogy of fathers playing a game with his young child. The game has certain rules and guidelines, and the two follow as they play. During the game, the child becomes totally engrossed in it, and it becomes his entire world. The game has rules and guidelines. During the game, the child becomes engrossed in the game, and that's the child's. The game is real. For the father, it's still a game, and although it may appear that though he's ensconced in it, he's not. If during the game the child says something that penetrates his father's personal world, such as "I love you, Daddy," it has a profound impact beyond the limited world of the game.
Rabbi, what's constant or whatever that word was?
Ensconced, like
What does that mean?
he's involved in it.
Mhm.
For the child, these words are so basically the kid in the game has to say, "Yay, Dad, you rolled a 6. I love you." Whatever. It's good for him in the game. So the love that is will be forever ingrained in his heart after the game is ended. Meaning the good stuff is forever. The whole world's a game. I mean, in a sense, it's a game. In the sense, it's limited. There's rules. There's
The experience you're having has long-lasting effects. Is I think what it is.
Right.
The way to put it.
Meaning when you do the mitzvah, which is God's will, it's a love letter to God in a sense.
Right.
That's beyond all the temporal stuff of the game of life.
Right.
When you get to the point of it all, the point beyond behind the game, the point of the game, which is a bond. It's like, why does Val play with the kid? Because the bond. So he gets down, he plays a little 5-year-old game, right? The game is nothing. The doesn't care about the game, or it's not. It's trivial. It's the love that comes through it.
That's showing,
Right. Making the child happy.
Right.
Right.
So that bond, and when the kid acknowledges the bond, because the bond can be very background. The child acknowledges the bond, then then that's.
Why having trouble if it's forever? It's ever.
Okay, back to Mike's question about health.
What was your question?
He said that a person, we're saying you can break glass, you can use the emergency hatch of the hidden love to motivate yourself to do positive mitzvahs that involve your study, your prayer, and your acts of monetary matters of kindness.
Whoa.
And you will not be dissuaded by the laziness of the animal soul, because it's all about conservation of energy. And you'll do it even beyond, holding on to your money. You want more than you need to. And you'll even do beyond, you'll sacrifice his physical health. So Mike made a good point that seemingly that's not a good thing to sacrifice one's health.
So your question, why can't we do that?
Like why that's not a good thing.
Right.
That's not noble to. And for that, we're going to have to go to the next level source.
Go, Rabbi. Go.
I can answer it myself, but I want to give a more conclusive. I'm not finding it. Here we go. So here's the thing. They point out in here in the footnote. This is a Hebrew book. This is like it's more encyclopedic. It did a good. It's in Hebrew, but it's a very good. It's more than just a commentary. It's like a lot of footnotes. Anyways, obviously, in actuality, we do have to guard our health because that is part of serving God. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean you should do mitzvahs at the expense of your health, because that's also a mitzvah. So what does it mean here then? We're pointing out that you should be ready to give your entire being to God, every fiber of your being.
Wow.
This is actually very interesting. In other words, they give a very basic understanding is that in other words, in the end of Yom Kippur we say Hashem Hu Elokim. He's Hashem Hu Elokim, right? And it says in the beginning, before you say that, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokim, we say you should have in mind that I would give my life for God, and that will be considered as if you shouldn't have to have the test of martyrdom, right? In other words, you're supposed to have a mindset of I'm willing to give my life for God, to die for God and to live for God. Every fiber of my being, even theoretically at the expense of my health. But the fact is, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to hurt myself. It's part of the mitzvahs. But it's saying, in theory, you're willing to give everything, even your health. And we say, by the way, you can't, because what does that do?
In other words, if you're willing to sacrifice your life, then you're willing.
For sure, you're willing to your health,
right,
your sleep.
Say, worship idols, or I'll send you to Siberia.
So for sure, you'll go sleep. You're willing to sleep for 2 hours a night, theoretically, right? The thing is, you're not allowed to sleep for 2 hours a night. You have to sleep a proper sleep. Another point is that what this does, like, as you say in the Gemara, l'may nafka, like, what's the difference? If you anyways have to guard your health, so why? I'd be willing to sacrifice my health, but I can't, so I don't. Versus just,
I get the point.
The reason is because the gray area. Many times you could do something and it won't hurt your health. You think, oh, my health. Oh,
you might use that.
You might use an excuse unknowingly.
Excuse, right.
So you have to always garner this martyrdom possibility that translates to I will give everything to God, including my health, my money, my health. You can't give your money. You can't give it all away. But in theory, you have to remember that you should give it away. You could, you would.
Right.
It's just there's rules of how you engage, and that helps. You're always willing to give more than the peanut gallery would say you should do, or the inner voice. It's a very interesting. It's actually it's a very powerful idea, because how many excuses do people make that I can't do this? They can't consider doing this mitzvah or this practice or whatever because it's too, it's going to topple the house of cards. Mm-hmm. It's going to topple my financial plan, or it's going to topple my my health plan. You sound like, what do you mean? You're kamikaze, theoretically. Okay, but you can't do that. So you do it in a proper, healthy way. But it's an interesting, because I'll tell you, I had a thing like last week, it was freezing cold. And someone said, oh, you're going to walk to shul in 12 minutes. And, it's whatever. But like, oh, you're going to have fries. I'm like, whatever. Like, and that comes from a very, like, I got to take care of myself first. And then I give over, then I give at the office. Then I go do shul. Understand? Like, that sentiment comes from, like, oh, you got to take care of yourself. You got to do, like, no, you don't take care of yourself. You have to, like, totally give yourself over to everything. Okay, then God says, but take care of yourself also. Like, do it right. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You understand this point? It's like, it's a very subtle secular mindset. It might just be a huge, like a contrast, which people don't realize, of an observant, a Torah observant Jew is basically always saying, like, I should give everything. However, God doesn't want chaos, so and ill health. So you're right. And then you do that in a very in a non egotistical way. This goes by Mike one time said, and he says today you don't see writing of good and bad in writing. It's health enhancing and health,
Right. Or sanity. Yeah. I mean,
health or sanity, promoting or unhealth, not health promoting.
The opposite.
You understand? But that you see that already. That's already taking for granted that I come first.
right.
It's already it is good and bad. It's another way of doing good and bad. You understand? When you understand Tanya, that's actually a clever wordplay of animal soul centricity, me centricity.
Mm-hmm.
What's that word?
In a
now?
way.